Hi, Kelsey.
Hi, Val. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited to talk to you today because I knew the moment that you came into the market, I was like, I have to talk to her. She is awesome. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Mobile Vulgaris
Okay.
and what's kind of
Um,
behind that?
okay. So I am the owner and lead designer of Mobile Vulgaris. And basically, I am a boutique floral business that I think kind of specializes in things that are a little bit out of the box, and a little bit on the more moody side.
For sure, yeah.
um, and yeah, it's mostly me and my fiance, and I mean, I'm sure there's a lot to say. It's just,
Yeah. Um, so I mean, I do love your style. How other than moody, how would you describe your style?
So I use the word goth a lot, and I
Yeah.
think that that tends to make people think like I'm talking all black everything.
Yeah.
But when I use that term, what I'm really referring to is like the gothic period of life,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
kind of medieval type of things,
Yeah.
more like gothic architecture, Spanish style things.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel that it borders on that, as well as kind of a more fantasy driven, um, I don't know, we do kind of more fantasy driven designs, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And you just moved down here from LA, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what you did in LA and your move to San Diego.
So I started in LA, and I really started just by word of mouth, honestly. It was, I happened to have actually a few photographer friends out there. So that's kind of how I got started. They knew that I was, starting a floral business, and they had clients that were looking for a florist that maybe wasn't doing, um, wasn't taking what they were giving as inspiration and just recreating it and recreating and recreating it.
Sure.
So they would send them my way, and that's really how it kind of got started into an actual business.
Yeah.
Because before that, it was very like hobby driven. It was just
Yeah.
something I
Yeah.
like to do. I was working in a different field, and just everything was different.
Yeah.
But then as I worked on these weddings and got to create these environments for people, ultimately, it just really became the thing that I had to do.
Yeah. And so you kind of started your business and your move to San Diego just around the time of the pandemic.
Basically, I mean, my business started probably, I mean, I've been in business for 3.5 years. Obviously, for a lot of us, 1.5 of those years was pandemic time.
Yeah, yeah,
So before, yeah, I was in business probably around 1.5 years, 2 years when the pandemic hit. And then for me, because I was a new business, it was very much like batten down the hatches, no advertising, marketing, promising people something that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to deliver because of
yeah,
the conditions of just what's happening. So my books were closed completely. Our life changed because my fiance also works in events, but he works in like high profile, huge crowd events, and those are shut down completely. So for us, moving was kind of our only option. We needed somewhere where we could go and kind of start fresh. And also, the difference between what was happening in LA and San Diego made a big difference in our decision to move, because LA had stayed
oh,
so
interesting.
locked down for so long.
Yeah,
And San Diego was a little bit, further along
yeah,
in kind of recouping from that. So we moved down here on a whim and just prayed that it would work out,
yeah,
and so far it's been great.
yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about Jose, because he's sort of an intricate part to you and your business. It's obviously he's your fiance, um, but he helps a lot. And for those watching, Kelsey is in a wheelchair, and does these amazing events, and with the help of Jose, who has done production, behind the scenes production. So tell us a little bit about Jose, because
Okay.
he's pretty awesome.
Yes, he
I
is
like him.
integral part of the of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, he's worked in production now for like 12 years. So he has a really great working knowledge of what is out there that moves large equipment. So for me, one of the biggest challenges being a wheelchair user is that obviously florists are up, down, around, all over the place, crouching, crawling, doing whatever you have to do to get it done.
Flushing buckets back and
Right.
forth,
Right.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. Throwing things. You never know what you have to
True.
do. So for me, I'm fortunate in that I have a very good understanding in what I am able to do and where my abilities kind of are limited. And with his knowledge of basically machinery that does the work for you, we've kind of been able to put the two together, and it's worked out really well. In his job, he's lifting like tonnage into the air.
Right.
And thankfully for me, flowers aren't actually that heavy, but they still sometimes need to be lifted into the air.
This is true. Yes.
And it's kind of the same machinery and mechanics that you use.
Yeah.
So it's worked out really well.
Yeah. I mean, he's had to rig you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Up and down and all around.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited to talk to you about the bridal event that you just had down at the Del Mar Fairgrounds. And girl, you killed it.
Oh, thank you.
I was fortunate enough, I'm fortunate enough to be Kelsey's sales rep at Mayash Carlsbad, but kind of got a behind the scenes look at Kelsey's install that you did for the bridal event, and it was pretty awesome. It was amazing. Tell us a little bit about how you prepared for that and how you pulled it off.
Okay. The prep. So I think for me, there's two stages of prep. So one of the stages is the logistics of how I'm actually going to get it up in the air. And that's like the whole conversation with Jose. And then there's the other side of the prep, which is just the regular floristry, floral design. What am I making and how am I going to pull that off prep? And I usually start with the logistics. Well, no, I start with the idea. And
Sure.
then I start with the logistics. And so that was kind of where we started. I knew that I wanted to do an installation. I just have this feeling in my gut that they are the next big thing. The arch is going to slowly go in the background and installations are going to come out and floating pieces are going to be what people want. They're amazing. Like they're awesome. You don't just see them every day, So I knew that I really, really wanted to do an installation, and I have seen plenty of videos of, people who are creating these incredible scenes inside like greenhouses. So they're using motorized lifts and all of these things. But at the bridal fair, that's obviously not an option. I get 10 by 10, we all get 10 by 10 and that's it. Yeah. So talking to Jose, we had decided that the best idea would probably just to use pipe and drape without the drape. So just a telescoping pipe that I could bring it down to a level where I could reach and design everything. And once we were ready, we could just fly it up into the air and then it would be there for the rest of the day. And thankfully that worked out really well. And that's exactly how we did it. So it really is just like for that in particular, it was just figuring out the logistics. And then, I mean, the prep with the flowers and dyeing and everything was a whole other story. Right. And that was very interesting. I learned a lot in that process because I was definitely, this Val, I was going for a kind of a look that I had never created before. I think that bridal fairs and things where you get to decide what your design is a really good time to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
You can talk yourself into really putting out the money and putting out all the things, So that's what I told myself. Like, we're just going to do it. Learned a lot.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about dyes and textures and all of that. So the
Mhm.
project that I ended up having was not the project that I had originally talked about.
Yeah.
But you take things as they come and you
Yeah.
work with it, you know.
Yeah.
5 minutes before those doors were about to open, half of my installation fell out. And I was panicking, but I got it back in and it stayed for the rest of the day. So
And no one knew.
no one knew.
Right. And
And
that's
people
that.
were touching it all day.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh.
I was
Well, I mean, that's kind of what event designers do. I mean, you create these amazing pieces and things happen and, things fall over, like you said, and the bride or the client doesn't know. And that's the beauty of being an event designer, is pulling these amazing events off without, anyone knowing there was any issues. So.
yeah,
So
yeah.
tell me, Kelsey, tell me what inspires you? Like, what kind of gets you motivated to flower and to create?
I think for me, a lot of it is like fantasy and movies. Um, I love the idea of like magical environments. If I could live in them all the time, I would, you know.
Or
And so for me, I think that is a lot of what it is. It's the for somebody who wears all black all the time, the color and the
yeah,
vibrancy and just the patterns and the texture of all of it at one time is just it's just beautiful.
yeah, for sure.
And
So that's what gets your creative juices flowing.
mhm.
Yeah,
It is. Anything that glows, sparkles, is bright, is like I
yeah, that's
just
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I do like your style a lot. It's definitely different. Um, and yeah, I think that just the way that you describe things really kind of hits it on the head, with sort of that moodiness and the deep dark, but also the color. Another designer, Gilberto from Dogwood and Fur, he loves moody, he loves all those deep dark, colors, but then uses lots of color in his events. But I think that's really um, it's pretty cool that you could go from one extreme to another. I think that's what makes you versatile and appeal to a lot of people. You know what I mean? Yeah. So Kelsey, tell me a little bit about what you have coming up. Anything interesting? Any interesting projects? What are you hoping for the second half of 2021 for Mobile Vulgaris?
Well, I'm hoping I hear from some of the lovely couples I met at the bridal fair. They were great. I also got to meet some people there that were involved in some magazines and some venues, and so I'm really hoping to just kind of connect more with different vendors, I guess, out
Yeah,
here. It's been really great so far, and it's only been 2 days since the
yeah,
bridal
that's
fair happened,
awesome.
and yeah, and I've gotten to connect with some people. I am involved with a styled shoot that's coming up next week already from the bridal fair. So
Yay!
yeah, so I'm hoping that it just kind of leads to more, even just more relationships, because
Yep.
still being new in San Diego, I definitely want
Yeah.
to make those connections.
Do you freelance?
I do, I
You do?
do, yes,
Okay.
and sometimes I even look for freelancers too. So if
Yeah,
anybody wants to get in contact,
yeah,
find
yeah.
me.
It's freelancing is pretty cool. It's especially, in San Diego, there's so many amazing designers that do need freelancers. Um, but it's cool because you learn a lot.
Mhm.
You learn different ways, especially if you freelance for a couple different people. Everyone has a different way of doing it, so you kind of always learn,
Mhm.
and you meet people, and
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Especially like wedding planners and bakers and all that,
Mhm.
caterers. There's some good connections.
Yeah. I
So
really like the wedding industry side of things because it truly is like there's enough for everybody. You're To me it's like you're there for the people who are right for you to find you. You know, it's not a competition. We're here to work together.
I
And
love
you have
that.
people who are down for what you make, and I have people who are down for what I make. I had a couple come up to me at the bridal fair, and the groom was like, I just wanted to tell you, I so dig what you do. She doesn't like it at all, but I love it. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll take
Well,
it.
you know, that's what I think is so cool about especially floristry is that, and in the wedding industry, is that everybody is looking for their perfect day. And
Yeah.
one of us matches you. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, great. I think it's awesome.
Well, this is what I love about you is that you really just have such a great outlook, and you never let things get you down. You're always so positive. Anytime you come into the market, you're always just so positive and loving, and I just love that about you.
Well, in
Kelsey,
all fairness, you make me very happy. The market makes me very happy.
I know,
So,
right? Gosh, it's like therapy, isn't it? It's
yeah.
amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, any advice for people that maybe, have a disability or is in a wheelchair where they would never ever think that they could be an event designer? I mean, obviously you have proven, that you can do it and that, you've been successful.
I mean, I think my biggest advice is just like anything in our lives, like as fellow disabled people, you got to just keep trying. You got to just keep going and figuring it out and figuring out what works for you. Because what works for you is going to be different than how everybody else does it.
Yeah.
And the thing that we have on our side is that we've all been doing this for a long time. And if you haven't been doing it for a long time, you know, you're going to get the hang of what does work for you, and it will come over time. And that's really all it takes is time. You
Yeah.
know, time and practice. And, you know, you'll figure out 52 million ways something doesn't work, but you will eventually figure out the one way that it does.
Yeah.
And also, don't be afraid to ask people for help. Um, it's been my experience that most people really do want to help. They
Yeah.
want you to be able to create and live and have a life just like anybody else. But a lot of people are also afraid to offer. So they
Yeah.
don't want to offend you. They don't want to make it seem like you can't do it. So don't be afraid to ask. Like,
Yeah.
everybody needs help, not just, you know, people who are disabled. Everybody needs help, and we can
Yeah.
all
For
help
sure.
each other out. You know, it's like, it's, um, it's also realizing, you know, that within this help and asking people, you're going to be looking at things like certain crafts that other people do is really important to pay attention to, because if you can get into um, or like have a relationship with somebody who does other things, for instance, like woodworkers or glass blowers or anything that you may need made custom for you, it's really important to look for those relationships too, and to, you know, talk with them about really what you're looking for, because people can customize anything these days.
Yeah.
And you just have to have the conversations, because it can totally be done.
Yeah. That is such great advice. Gosh, I love that. I just like what you said, people feel like, okay, maybe they can ask, for help or, you know, for someone like in my position, not sure,
Mhm.
sometimes like, how do you approach this person? Or, you want to be sensitive and you don't want to be, abrasive in any way, but or overbearing. But I really do love that you said ask for help. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we all do need help. I mean, geez. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. You know, like,
Well,
here
Kelsey,
to work together.
yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me
Oh,
today.
of course.
I love getting to know you a little bit more every single day or every time you're in the market anyway. I look forward to seeing you more and hopefully um, the doors start opening and I see you lots more.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much. And today I celebrate you, Kelsey. So thanks so much for joining me.
No problem. See you later.